Hello chess friends and welcome to Jozarov's chess channel and welcome to my commented chess games played by computers. So in this series we follow the best chess games that are played in history by Alphazero, Lila C0, Stockfish, Komodo and many more. And today we are continuing to follow Alphazero's games back in 2017, back in 2018 in the 1000 games that were played between Alphazero versus Stockfish. This was really an important event I think in chess history because Alphazero showed that really it was the best engine in chess history, but of course now Alphazero is not competing anymore. Alphazero is used now for different things, but I really think that the developers of Alphazero should bring really Alphazero back and try to compete in this TCEC seasons and also in this TCEC cups. So today I wanted to show really a great attacking game played by Alphazero. It's one of these games in which you basically feel that you have this attacking formations, but that's why this title is called one of these moves that you feel you can make but you don't dare to play, because sometimes I feel some tactics but I simply don't dare to play them because I don't know the possible continuation. I cannot calculate everything, and that's why I play maybe a calm move or a passive move and maybe draw a game or even lose a game. Here in this game we feel one particular move. I'll show this critical move that will happen, but to play it, it's really something else. So you have to be brave, I think, and also have a good tactical possibility to calculate all of this. And of course Alphazero, one of the best chess engines in history, of course can calculate all of this. So Stockfish on the other hand played, I think, a too passive game, didn't develop the pieces in a proper way, and that's why Alphazero went straight forward and crushed Stockfish in this very nice game. So let's see the game. Knight on f3 played by Alphazero. We have Stockfish, knight on f6, d4, e6. Now we have the Queen's Indian or the Nh6 Indian setup. Here we have c4. Now we have the so-called anti-Nh6 setup with knight on f3, not allowing this bishop on b4 idea. Then we can play knight from b2 d2, not allowing this knight on c3, and after bishop takes on c3, b takes c3 will lead into double pawn situations. Here we have b6, and now this is also a common move of blacks, waiting finally white to do maybe knight on c3 and then do the spinning idea. We have g3, also a common idea in these types of variations in order to keep the flexibility in the game. Again, not play this move knight on c3 and allowing this pinning idea. We have bishop on b7, bishop on g2, still common theory, and now bishop on e7. You see, Stockfish will go into fast development style, of course with castling, but now you see Stockfish hasn't played this common idea. If you try bishop on b4 now, then as I said, knight from b2 d2, it's still common theory. You can even take out this knight and maybe after queen on d2 control this very powerful central square here on e4. But it's very risky to give up the bishop pair now in an early stage of the game, because white hasn't weakened the pawn structure. Here you see we don't have double pawns, we have still a healthy pawn structure, and after something like b3, bishop on b2, we could get use of this very powerful diagonal. So both of these bishops of white's bishop would be on this very long and important diagonals. On the other hand, black would have a perfect central control of the e4 square. So it's, as I said, a very risky game for black to immediately give up the bishop. So I said here bishop on e7 was played, and now castling played by Alphazero. Stockfish castle also, and now the fun already starts. We have d5, and it's sort of a gambit line in the Queen's Indian or the Nh6 Indian setup. d5 immediately. Now after e takes d5, here Alphazero played knight on h4. First of all, we have now deflected this pawn on d5 from the defense of this f5 square. This f5 square is of course a very cool square for the knight to jump with the possibility maybe to bring the queen here on g5. It leads also into some checkmate threats, and here c6 was played by Stockfish, and now c takes d5. It's not good to bring out the knight immediately here, because after d takes c4, if you try e4, then you see with d5 black can really try this blocking system. And then of course if you take, then this pawn would be very well protected, and now basically what we want to do is maybe bring the queen here on d7 and try this pawn breakthrough on d4. So it's risky here to not participate here in the centers. Here after knight takes on d5, we have knight on f5. Of course the knight was also attacked, so now black has to do something with the bishop, but now first knight on c7, because the threat was to play e4. e4 played now by Alphazero, and now we have d5. We have e takes d5, knight takes on d5, because you don't want to have this isolated pawn. If you do that, then we can play sort of a blocking system here with the knight on d4 and similar ideas. We can also try bishop on f4, knight on c3. Then this bishop would be always a little bit stuck to the defense, and we have, as I said already, a very active knight on f5. It's hard to kick away the knight with move g6, because then you weaken your dark squares around the king. So that's why here knight takes on d5 was played, and now knight on c3. It seems now that maybe Alphazero has made a mistake, because after knight takes on c3, it seems that you have to trade off the queens. But here, of course, Alphazero played first queen on g4, and now we have this checkmate threat. We have g6 by Stockfish. If you try bishop on f6 and after b takes c3, if you try bishop takes on c3, it's very dangerous, because now we have bishop on g5, and this would be already losing here for Stockfish, because if you try bishop on f6, then rook on d1, you see you cannot protect anymore this bishop. You cannot play here with the queen on e7 and stay on this protection. You see, if you move the queen, then bishop takes on f6, and it's completely over. So if you try f6 here, then again bishop on h6, we're leaving the rook hanging. It's not a problem, because we have now 3 attackers here against black's king, and now in the next move we can take bishop on g7, and it would be also losing game here for black. So after queen on g4, as I said, g6 was played. Again kicking away this very annoying knight. The knight is really dancing here around the black's king, and now knight on h6 with a check. We have king on g7, and now finally b takes c3. Bishop on c8 was played. If you try again bishop on f6, then rook on d1, again kicking away the queen, and after queen on e7, you see we can again somehow play bishop on e3, bishop on f4, just attacking the queen. And you see we have also here this very nice tactics, knight on f5. So basically the queen would be out of game, would have to play something like here on c7 or even on e8, which are really passive squares, and that's why here it wouldn't be also a good idea to place the bishop here on f6. So after b takes c3, as I said, bishop on c8 was played. It comes with the tempo now on the queen, so Stockfish is trying to defend. But I hope you realize that here we have all of the pieces on the 8th rank, and you see the activity of the bishop, of the knight on h6, of this bishop on this diagonal, of the queen is very powerful. We have also the possibility to connect rooks here finally and attack the queen, which the queen is a little bit endangered here in the center, and can become an object of white's attack, and then you can gain some tempos here. So after bishop on c8, we have queen on f4, you see queen on d6, and Stockfish would love now to simplify the position, of course, with the queens off the board. But of course Alphazero is not allowing that kind of stuff. Play simply a5, and if you try here b5, then queen on c2, simply staying with the queens on the board, simply improving the position of the queen. You can try maybe knight on d7, but now rook on e1. If you try knight on e5, then queen on e2. Again, there are really these threats on the e file. You cannot defend the bishop on f6, then bishop on f4. Rook on e8 can be played, but this pinning situation is, I think, too much to handle here for black. You can try also rook on d1. And you see this game is simply coordinated around this e5. We can also bring the queen somehow into the game. This f7 can also become a weakness, because you left the defense with this rook. So this is something I think white will win probably, because we have also this powerful diagonal, and you see how white has a huge activity in these types of positions. This rook is not participating at all in the game, and I think Alphazero won this game very easily. So after queen on a4, g5 was played, and now we come to this critical moment. You see this, basically this knight is, it seems that the knight is trapped, or you have to at least give up the knight and maybe play knight on g4 or knight on e3 in order to secure somehow the knight on the board. But here Alphazero played on a very interesting idea, rook on e1, and here if you take with the queen here on h6, it's not such a good move, because we have always the possibility here to play h4 and similar ideas. So we can also try rook on e7, and you see the queen is a little bit overloaded here on the square d6, simply participating also in the defense of this sixth rank, but also participating in the defense of this bishop on e7, and also it's a little bit overloaded to the defense of the c6 weakness. We can always try bishop takes on c6, and then after that queen on c6. And as said, that's why king takes on h6, and this is now this moment. We feel that we can play, of course, the move h4, getting use of the spin. But would I really play this move? Would I really sacrifice the knight just in order to have a good activity, to have a good attack? Of course, the king is endangered here, but still, with so many pieces on the board, I for sure couldn't calculate all of that Alphazero will play now. Now first h4 was played, getting use of this very nice spin, and now f6. If you try king on g7 in order to escape, then we can simply take h takes g5, and if f6, then bishop on f4. You see how the queen is always an object of white's attack. If you try to trade off the queens, then we can first take g takes f6, after rook takes on f6. Now again this move queen on c2, and you see you don't have so many defenders anymore around black's king. We can also try the spinning idea, bishop on e5. We can also bring the other rook into the game. So many tactical possibilities here. If you try bishop on f5, it's again another problem. We can stay here on with the queen on d2 and try again some bishop on h6 or bishop on e5 ideas. We're attacking also this bishop. We can also maybe play queen on e2, attacking immediately this e7 weakness. So as said, here f6 was played, and now we have bishop on e3 played by Alphazero, staying with this very annoying pin on the king. The king is, it's really in a natural position of the king now. We have bishop on f5, bringing another defender here around black's king, and now rook on d1. You see, now all pieces are in perfect harmony, in perfect attack. The queen has to retreat. Now we have again this queen on a3 idea to simplify the position, to get the queens off the board, and most of us would probably play something like queen on h takes g5 now, and after f takes g5 then queen on h4, but not Alphazero. Alphazero plays first queen on c4. So again, it's sort of a provocative move. Play again a weakness, weaken your position even more. So you see now after b5, now we finally take h takes g5. So these are the tiny little things in the attack. You see, we have forced now again black to make sort of a weakness, because the pawn structure is now much more weakened even here on the queen side. After h takes g5, we have f takes g5, and now finally queen on h4. King on g6, staying of course on the defense of this very important g5 pawn. If we lose this g5 pawn, then it will be game over. But now queen on h1, and you see Alphazero corners here the queen on h1. Really strange square for the queen, but it's a perfect square, because you see we have attacked this c6 weakness. We're staying on this very important h file. We can try some attacks here, maybe through the h file. So here, if you try h5, if you try to close the h file, then bishop on e4 is a very good move, because we want to get off of this defenders around black's king. You see this bishop is a very important defensive piece, so we can try from black's perspective maybe queen on a2, then bring the queen into defense on light squares. But bishop on d4 again, creating an activity with this bishop, and the threat is of course bishop takes on f5 and then discoverably taking this bishop on e7. If you try knight on d7, then you see again rook on a1, kicking away the queen, and if after bishop queen on f7 we can play a very interesting move, g4. So after h takes g4, queen takes bishop on f5. You see if you have to take with the queen, and now the bishop is hanging, so very tricky stuff here. So after queen on h1, king on g7 was played. Now finally Stockfish is trying to improve the position of the king, because the king stayed on the 6th rank too long now, and now bishop on e4. The key defender is really this bishop on f5. This, you have to get rid of this and then get use of this heavy artillery here with his rooks, with his bishops, and with the queen. And the problem is you can never bring out the knight on d7. If black would love to bring out somehow the knight on d7 and participate with the knight, because the knight is always the best defensive piece around the king. But if you do that, then we can simply take again, then after that we can take out the knight. So you see these two pieces, the knight and the rook, are out of game, and Alphazero with this perfect attack is not allowing black to defend somehow. After bishop on g6, we have simple bishop takes on h6, we have h takes g6. If you try king on g6, then it's again very tricky, because we have first bishop on d4, cutting off this very important square for the king. If you try bishop on f6, then queen on e4, attacking the king. After king on g7, now queen on f5. If you take the bishop on d4, then first of course the check, and it's now even a forced checkmate after king on h8. Now first we take with the rook on d4. If you try somehow maybe to participate with some more defenders, then queen on e5 attacking, and now rook on g4, and this will be really nice checkmate here with the queen and the rook. So tricky stuff. After bishop on h6, g6, we have h takes g6. You see this is now again a more weakened position around black's king, and now we have queen on h3. We want to participate of course with the bishop on dark squares, and then with the queen on light squares, and attacking here black's king. So bishop on f6, and now king on g2, with the preparation to play rook on h1 and then rook on h7. Here queen on a2 finally played, and the idea is of course to bring the queen. It's not about taking now the pawn, but the pawn is just a sort of a jumping station here, and now we want to play the queen on g8 and have another defender around the king. So rook on h1, queen on g8, and now c4. Very interesting idea. The idea of this move is to simplify the position on the queen side, because if b takes c4, you see that these pawns are not so powerful anymore, they're not connected, so we don't have so many worries that why black will push the pawns here and try promotion, because if you try b4 here, then we can play simply rook on d6, attacking here the bishop, and if you try knight on h6, then here it's a very annoying check that you can make, and you see you can never bring out this knight. Again, I'm pointing out this knight is stuck really here to the defense all the time. It cannot participate in the attack at all, and that's why it was really a great attack here by Alphazero. If you try a5 to simply continue to push, then queen on g4. You see, if you try to simply go on and try this promotion, then bishop on d4 is very dangerous. If you try a3, you see queen on g5. The importance of this pinning idea is a huge one. Now if you take, of course, then you see we have even queen on g6. So that's why after c4 here rook on e8 was played, maybe getting a new square for the king in order to escape somehow. And now bishop on d4, again getting rid of another defender, so we got rid of this bishop on f5. Now we getting rid of this dark square bishop on f6. We have bishop on d4, rook takes on d4, and now rook on d8, but now simply rook on d8. We have queen takes on d8, and now queen on e6. If you try again to bring out the knight somehow, then queen on e5, again it's very risky, and it's again game over here for Stockfish. So I just wanted to point you out that this knight can never go out, and here Stockfish tried with knight on e7, but now we have the spinning idea, rook on d1, and you see here Stockfish tried knight on c5, but now rook takes on d8, we have knight takes on e6, and now rook takes on a8, and this is now a better continuation here for black. If you try b takes c4, then you see rook takes on a7 comes with a check, which is an important difference. If this move wouldn't come with a check, then this pass pawn would be very dangerous, but in the continuation here we can simply take the pawn, and this would be a completely winning endgame. So after rook takes on a8, here king on f6 was played. We have c takes b5, we have c takes b5, but now a very important move, king on f3, bringing first the king towards the center, because the king has to participate. Knight on d4, we have king on e4. You see how important now the king in the center is, which is of course one of the main rules of endgames, to play very actively with the king. Knight on c6, we have rook on c8 attacking the knight, we have knight on e7, and now rook on b8. We want to grab the pawns. We have knight on f5, now g4 attacking the knight, and now knight on h6. You see the knight is out of game. We have f3, knight on f7, now rook on a8, again attacking this weakness. We have knight on d6, but now again you see how important this king is on d4, d5 here, knight on c4, and now finally we're taking a pawn. Here knight on e3, king on e4 again, and here simply attacking the knight. Here rook on c5. Now we can choose which pawn we are taking. Here king on e6, we are taking this pawn. Here king on f6, rook on c5. Here g5 was played, and now king on d4. And in this position, Stockfish resigned. You cannot advance the pawn. In the next move, we are taking the pawn, and it's again a completely winning endgame. We have cut off this 5th rank, so the king can never participate here in the potential promotion. So again, this is really a theoretical win for white. Okay, let's go back to this critical moment. I think, as I said, I would feel maybe this tactical possibility, but if I would dare to play it, it's something else, I think. Let's go back here after this was really this critical moment. Just want you to, so here leaving this knight hanging, king takes on h6, and now to play the move h4. I would see something like this, but if I would dare to play it, I don't think so. I would play maybe a much more calm line. You see, sacrificing the knight in this early stage of the game here, it's unbelievable how Alphazero played really chess, and that's why I miss these games. I would really love to see Alphazero, as I mentioned also in my previous videos, to compete again, to that we can see again this beautiful chess games, and that's why I would really love for this developers of Alphazero to maybe reconsider again the option that Alphazero is participating in some games against Stockfish, Lila C0, or even Allenstein and Komodo, and many more. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this game. I enjoyed it a lot. Meanwhile, you can watch my other commented chess games played by computers, and you can also watch my best chess games of all time if you want to see humans competing in their best chess games in chess history. And you can also subscribe to my channel.